Okay, I've put this video together for franchisors, people working for a franchisor who might be meeting a prospective franchisee to be able to talk about the brand and about possibly joining the system. So I guess from dealing with a lot of franchisors over the years, we've picked up a lot of things around what works well, what doesn't work as well, and this is a nice, neat summary for you, and you're probably quite good at it anyway, but you might get a couple of tips out of this as well. So I'll just run through what we've picked up. So when it comes to a person that's looking to join your brand, I think it's really important to give them a demonstration of the business. This meeting might be about an hour, hour and a half, and have a chat with them about things, and I'd control it to that amount of time. It's very powerful to get them to the business and show them exactly what happens behind the scenes. So what I would probably do first is I would explain the meeting. So I'd let them know, look, these are the things we're going to cover today that we've got here, and here's the things maybe that we won't talk about because we're not going to be here, all day. We've only got, say, an hour, hour and a half allocated to show you some things and have a chat. So we're going to make sure we touch on these things today so you've got a really good understanding of what we do. And then after that, of course, if you've got any questions, you can always send me an email or give me a call. So you just let them know that process. Then I think it's a good idea to talk in this order. So we've put these things in this specific order. If you want to move them around, you can. But I think this sort of flows quite well. So the first thing I would probably do is talk about your industry. So talk about the industry that you're in and the things that affect your industry from an economic point of view, the things that affect your industry also from a pricing point of view, and just overall how competitors also operate within that industry, just so people know what's the strengths of your industry and what's the minuses of your industry. So I'll use a quick simple example. One of the strengths of, say, the coffee industry is that there's good margin in coffee. It's relatively easy to be able to produce once you know have done some barista training. And one of the minuses is it's hard work. You're on your feet all day, and it's high volume, that sort of stuff. And you can have quite a fickle customer base, people who will really follow and go to that particular business for coffee or not if they don't like it. So there's just a couple of sort of simple examples about your industry and the coffee industry or whatever industry in general. After that, I would talk about your brand. How does your brand actually fit into the marketplace in comparison to competitors? So what is your brand, what's your USP that your brand offers, and where does it sit in the marketplace in comparison to competitors? Because competitors are fine, but they'll do something their way and you'll do things differently. So what is it that your brand does differently to the way competitors do it? From a customer point of view, the end user, the end customer point of view, but also maybe from a franchisor's point of view and how you actually support and the model you've got around your franchisee side of things. So that's what I cover on your brand. Next thing is I'd talk about marketing and advertising, and what I'm really referring to is how do your franchisees get customers? So I guess some of the things I'm talking about here is national brand building campaigns that you might do, and that's important, but also down directly in their particular business. How do they get customers? When they get customers through every day or every week or whatever it is that the kind of model is, how do those customers get to them? How do they find out about them? And what have you got in your system that's been systemised that generates inquiries or walk past traffic or whatever it might be that actually gets customers that can continue flow into that business? Because that's part of what your franchise model is in your franchise system. So I'd make sure you talk about those and describe them in sort of different blocks. So we're doing this social media wise, we do this in terms of digital media, we do this in terms of direct mail, etc. We've got these sort of point of sale things going on, etc., etc. I just explain each of them and give them some examples around them. The next part is around your products. I would show them what your main products are, maybe your top 2 or 3 products. Explain to them exactly what they are, the price that customers pay for those products, the kind of margin that is on those products for when this potential franchisee might sell them so they can understand, and then give some indications around what some of the top performers sell as well, and maybe some of the middle and maybe some of the low performers as well, so they can get an understanding of, gee, there's a fair bit of money comes in from these products, and so they can just get a feel for how they make money in this particular business. So I talk about that. Next, second last thing is operations. I just explained to them operationally what systems you've got in place to be able to then deliver those products or those services direct to the end customer. So explain from an operational point of view. Okay, so an order comes in here, as you can see it goes into our system, it then moves along this way here, gets processed, etc. So it comes out the other end and then goes to the end user. That's what you want to show them. So demonstrate that to them and show them exactly how that works. So from their point of view, they can look and think, okay, that seems pretty simple. I can get that. And then you can say, look, you get trained on how to do that. We're here for you too in the early days to show you how to use it. So you can really get the hang of it. So, and that's what they want to know. When I get into this business, how am I going to know what to do? So that's a really important thing to be able to get across to them. And last of all, I think it's really important to talk about their financial suitability. So it's one of those things where you've got to be careful, obviously. You can't go telling people, they're going to make $1 million, etc. if they're not. But it's not so much about that. It's around finding out what they're looking to achieve and then giving them an understanding from your knowledge and your experience if that's realistic. You're not telling them that they will or they won't achieve it, but if you feel it's realistic and achievable. Because, for example, if they want to buy a coffee van, it's only got maybe a capacity, for argument's sake, to do $5,000 or $10,000 a week in sales. But if this particular person's coming and they want to make $500,000 profit a year and they're looking at a coffee van, I think that it's good to have a discussion around this and say, okay, I think if that's the level of profit you want, I wouldn't be overly confident that you're going to achieve it in this business. In fact, I don't know anyone in our system that is actually achieving that. So maybe it's a mismatch on what you want to achieve versus what this business can actually deliver for you and has delivered. So I'd probably be, maybe have a think about that, before you sort of go ahead and submit your formal application to be able to join us. And that's kind of how you explain it. So it's just really getting an understanding of their situation. Are they going to take on much debt? Is their partner working? Are they leaving their job? How old are the kids? What's the minimum income that they need on a weekly basis to be able to run their household and their family? And they won't mind talking to you about this stuff if you ask it the right way. I think I'd set it up and say, look, do you mind if we have a talk around some financials? Because I just want to make sure if you're going to end up joining us that you've got an understanding as to, make sure that financially, we can do what we can to avoid you getting in any trouble or anything like that, because you don't want it and we don't either. And they'll say, no, that's fine, because that's your lead into it. And that's when you can then ask those questions. So roughly, what is your house worth? What do you owe? Are you going to borrow money to do this? And all those other things that I said. Have you got cash that you're going to put into this? Are you going to leave a buffer of cash? Do you know how much you need to keep in the bank for working capital when you come into this business for that first 1 or 2 or 3, 6 months or so? Do you know about the security bond that might be required to rent on the premises? Have you allowed for that? Even though the total franchise and setup cost is X dollars, have you allowed and do you know about the other costs and other dollars that you'll need just to support you getting in as well? Because there's some other materials and things that you might need as well. So I think it's okay to talk around that stuff and just make sure that you can rest easy yourself to know that they've been explained as much as you can explain about the dollars side of things. And I think that's really the way to think of it. Yeah, is just try to tell them as much as you can. And in the end, they can make up their mind if this is a good thing for them and it's a risk that they're willing to take from that business point of view. So that's some things as to how to talk about and how to conduct a great franchise business demonstration that we've picked up over the years from lots of franchisors.